So we can think about positioning as a fundamental set of inputs into everything we do in marketing and sales. If you were to come to me and say, hey, let's build some campaigns, I'd say, well, okay, who's it for? Who's our target customer for this? What are we trying to communicate? So what's our differentiated value? Who do we compete with and how do we win? Positioning defines all of that. So my definition of positioning is that positioning defines how your product is the best in the world at delivering some value that a well-defined set of customers cares a lot about. So it defines these fundamental things. Who are we competing against? What are our differentiators? What's the differentiated value that we can deliver that the others can't? Who exactly are we targeting this message to? What's the market that we intend to win? If we don't get that right, then everything downstream is kind of bad.
You've also spoken about the danger of leading your potential customers to incorrectly assume what you do. In your experience, how common is it that startups find themselves competing in the wrong marketplace because of a failure to correctly position?
I think it's very common for startups to fall into this kind of default position. And so if we think about it, generally the default position is whatever the founder had in their mind when they first came up with the idea for the product. So they woke up in the morning and they said, you know what sucks? Databases suck. I'm going to make a better database, a new kind of database. Mm-hmm. And then you get it out in the world and you add features, you take things away. Meanwhile, the world itself is changing. So there's new competitors coming in and out. And fast forward a couple of years and maybe your database looks a lot more like a business intelligence platform or a data warehouse, but you don't see it that way because the change has been so gradual and you're often like, well, we're database people making a database. What else could it possibly be? And you never deliberately positioned it in the first place. It was this kind of default. So you're not even thinking that it's changing. And anyways, I think that's really common in startups to just kind of fall into a position, the market changes, and then they're like, this just isn't working the way it was working at the beginning, and I don't know why. Well, so here's the thing. We don't just know the answer in marketing. We don't. We actually cannot do positioning by ourselves. What we should be doing is thinking about positioning as a cross-functional exercise. So what we can do in product marketing in particular is lead the effort to go and examine the position. But if we're gonna go do it, we need input from sales, we need input from product. Ideally, we've got customer success, we've got the executive team. We're gonna bring everybody together and then we're gonna work through a process to figure out the positioning. Each one of those groups is gonna come with really important things to say. Like sales knows exactly what's going on out in the field. Product knows exactly what our product is capable of or not capable of. It would be crazy not to include them in that discussion. But the other thing we get from bringing everybody together is as we're working through the positioning, we're getting buy-in and alignment because everybody's part of the process. If we don't do that, and imagine marketing just locks themselves in a room and said, okay, we've cooked this up. We're not a database anymore. We're a data warehouse. And then you just send the email out. Okay, everybody, here's the memo. We're not a database, we're a data warehouse now. Like, you know what sales is gonna go? They're gonna go, yeah, that's nice. Okay, but let me just pitch this database. And think about it. If you're at a startup, like the CEO doesn't have an opinion about that. Of course he does, right? So we need everybody in agreement and alignment on this thing. And then once we've got it, if we've developed it with everybody else, then all those people know how to go back and tell that story to their teams. So you've got agreement and alignment through the process of actually developing the positioning in the first place. And then we can become the stewards of it, if you want. And generally that means, you hold the meeting to get the positioning adjusted. So you're putting the meeting on the calendar 6 months from now to do a check-in with the same group of people to say, has anything changed in our competitive landscape? Has anything changed with our differentiated value? If it has, then maybe we need to adjust the positioning. If it hasn't, it's fine and nothing should change. We might be the keepers of messaging in product marketing, but we definitely don't get to own positioning. Like we don't get to just make it up on our own.